Well, today was Father's Day. So first of all, that means University of Georgia sent us a nice card and a pretty tie. And it also means, hey, Alabama got a couple of commitments today.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Thank you, LinkedIn, for being a sponsor. I'll tell you about LinkedIn in just a bit. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. And, Georgia, I'm just kidding around, man. You know we love you. We got respect for you. Nothing but respect. But, Jimmy, I wasn't kidding about the part about the commitments. Alabama got 2 commitments this weekend. They may actually be getting another one here very shortly, who we'll talk about later. But today, we'll work backwards. Today, they got a commitment from London Simmons. This is a defensive lineman out of Mississippi. Not the most ballyhooed guy in this class. I mean, again, no sense in trying to sugarcoat that. But he is a dominant player where he plays. He's a big dude, and the staff loves him. They're not offering him based off what they saw on tape. They're offering him based on stuff they saw back in April. I believe it was April 24th, where he was in and he got his official offer. So he's been to Alabama's camp. He performed very, very well. It matched up with what the tape showed, and the staff seemed to really love him.
Yeah, if you guys read what I wrote on 3 last week, and we talked about London Simmons here last week about, who I comped him to, and I comped him to Byron Young and Phil Mathis. But, my mind's changing a little bit on those comps. I'll get to that in a second. But, if you look at the rankings on 3, you're not going to be impressed. But this is what you need to know about London Simmons. As Luke pointed out, he plays at a really small rural 1A private school, a school I've never heard of. And I know Mississippi recruiting pretty well, not like Alabama, but I know Mississippi pretty well. I never heard of Hartsfield Academy until I heard of London Simmons during this cycle, when I knew Alabama was interested. And you watch the tape, as Luke said, and he's destroying. I remember specifically in the tape 2 different instances of him getting triple teamed and still making the play twice. He's impressive to watch on tape, but he's a guy you can't take until you get him in camp and you work him against other kids who are going to play college football, other big, strong kids that he doesn't see when he plays at Hartsfield Academy. And guess what? He knocked it out of the park. That's when they decided, not based on his tape, but based on working with him in camp, hey, you verified all these traits and all these tools that we saw in camp. We want you here. And that's all that matters. That's really all that matters. And I'm not blowing sunshine. I'm not telling you guys this is a hidden first-round pick. This is a hidden freshman All-American. I'm just saying this is a legitimate SEC defensive lineman, and Alabama staff likes him a lot. I think at BOL, you're going to see this guy's rankings rise until they're finalized in December. Now, is he going to end up top 100, top 150? I don't know. And to be honest, it doesn't really matter. He will rise because the Alabama commitment is going to give him a higher profile, and people are now going to understand, hey, when you watch his tape, you're not going to be too knocked out based on the competition, but understand that he went to Alabama's camp and earned his offer there at camp. He was not a take based on the tape. They wanted some more verification. So, I mentioned Byron Young and Phil Mathis here on the show and on BOL last week. I said he reminds me of Byron Young because he's got similar size, similar traits at the same age. But from what I hear, Luke, they actually see him as more of a nose guard. So imagine, if you will, that tape that you're watching him at Hartsfield Academy. Imagine that's Tim Keenan. That's Tim Keenan doing that. And you'd be like, you've got to be kidding me. Tim Keenan shouldn't be able to do what that guy is doing on that tape, even at a 1A private school. I'm actually more impressed with him now that I know, through Tim's reporting, Tim Watts, that really this is a nose guard type guy, because to me, he just looked like a straight up one gap defensive tackle type, like Byron Young, like Phil Mathis, both of whom are in the NFL. That's who he reminded me of traits-wise. But actually, this is a guy who might be a little bigger than that. He might be a little more Tim Keenan, a little more Jaheim Otis than those guys. So I'm really excited to get him. Is he going to be one of the best 10 dudes that we sign in this class? No. But he's a quality defensive lineman. And one last thing I'll add, Luke, you now have 2 defensive linemen, London Simmons and Antonio Coleman. Both of them are productive playmakers. That's how I would describe them. They make a lot of sacks, a lot of tackles for loss. They're playmakers, and Alabama is moving to a system of a one-gap scheme where defensive linemen are expected to make more plays than they did in Alabama's old 2-gap scheme. So these guys are good fits with what Alabama's going to do in the new staff and the new scheme. So there's every reason to be good with this, be cool with it. If you're just totally focused on the rankings, fine, but wait till December and see where he's ranked in.
Well, a couple of things. First of all, yeah, if he is one of the top 10 players in this class isn't as good as we thought it's going to be. At least it's not going to be ranked as high. And I don't mean that as a shot at London Simmons. I mean that as I think Alabama's in on a bunch of dudes that are way up there in terms of rankings. And I think they'll get some of them. So I don't think we'll be one of the top 10, even if he does skyrocket up the rankings, which I don't think he will, not because I don't think he's good. I wanted to take him. I wanted London Simmons. The reason I don't think he will skyrocket up the charts, Jimmy, it sounds like he's shutting his recruitment down. Now, things change. And so if you're shutting your recruitment down and you're not going other places and you're not doing other camps and nobody else is seeing you except seeing you on that tape where you dominate in 1A football, you're not going to really have the opportunity to, bolster yourself up the rankings. And on top of that, Jimmy, if he does end up signing in December, and let's say he's an early enrollee or whatever, by the time, if I don't know that he will be, I'm assuming he might be. Do you know anything about that one way or the other?
I don't know, because private schools look at the early enrollee situation different. I've not heard yet whether he'll be an early enrollee, but I will tell you this. You're talking about a chance to bolster his rankings. Great point about shutting down recruiting and that affecting things. It does. Luke's absolutely right. That's true. And then he'll have a senior season, but it's a senior season playing 1A ball in Mississippi.
That's
so
right.
Probably that's not going to do it. But this is what will do it. And Luke will probably be there for some of this or all of it. But he is very likely to play in the Alabama-Mississippi High School All-Star game. That will be viewed by the analysts. That will be viewed by the rankers. That is his opportunity to prove, hey, all these dudes you got ranked ahead of me, I just whipped them all week.
And that may be, you may be right. That's what I was going to say. The only time he might have a chance to really move up, and see, by that time, it would be like, it's almost unprecedented to go from, number 400 or number 500 to into the top 100. It's happened, but it's not very likely.
Right.
Even if he just shows out at the Alabama-Mississippi game. I remember Chris Jones showed out at the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game, and I think he went from a 3-star to a 5-star, if I remember right. He was one of the guys that always impressed me on that thing. But regardless,
he probably should have been a 10-star in retrospect.
Yeah, he was.
His stock is still rising, and he's been playing in the NFL for 10 years.
Jimmy, if you ask me who's the one guy you hate that Alabama missed, that may be the guy for me during Saban's tenure.
I've heard this. I don't know if it's true, but the internet was a thing then, of course. Yeah. But Chris Jones didn't go to camps. He didn't go to these camps. He didn't go to these ranking things. And I heard, whether it's true or not, but back then that was a time when like Mississippi State could go to his high school coach and say, like, let's just keep this below radar. Let's just not publicize this. That's what I heard, that Mississippi State worked to hide him during the process.
Well, then all I can say is kudos to Mississippi State, because that was well worth whatever they did if they did something. But I'm going to tell you, I wish Alabama had done whatever they needed to do to get him, because good Lord, that man.
He's as good as it gets. He was good at Mississippi State too. Would have been great at Alabama, and is obviously just a man in the NFL.
So look, what we're saying is, and I think Jimmy will back me up, we are not poo-pooing this guy at all. I love London Simmons. I'm happy he's on board. I'm down with it. Okay. And the staff loves him because they did, like you said, they didn't just go off the tape of him beating up on a bunch of 1A kids. They brought him into camp. They offered him there. Proof was in the pudding at camp. Big deal. And so what I'm saying is, I don't expect him to go from a mid 3-star right now to a high 4 or even a 5-star. I don't suspect that's going to happen, even if it's warranted, Jimmy. Even if we look back 5 years from now and go, how did we not have that guy ranked? He might be one of those guys that is in the Super Bowl. Like, how was he ranked a 3-star? And look at him now in the Super Bowl. Right. That it may be one of those situations, but there's no way he's going from where he is to that point. So that's what we're saying. That's all we're saying. So, but something else we're saying is, I got to tell you all about LinkedIn. When you're looking to hire for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board, baby. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you ain't looking in the right place, blah. So did I say blah or bruh? Doesn't matter. On LinkedIn, this is what I do. This is what happens when I improvise. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours, and you can too. Post a job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions, yeah, they're going to apply. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about this. Won't take up a segment, but let's go ahead and talk about the other guy that committed this past weekend. I think this happened on Friday, and that's Alex Aspero. Asperov?
I honestly don't know. I've asked around and don't know.
Here's what I want to say about this, Jimmy. I'm happy we have him. I'm hoping I don't ever have to learn his name because we don't ever have to use him. He is a punter. And God bless him. I'm happy he's getting a full ride. He's getting an actual scholarship. This isn't like a preferred walk-on, or he's getting a scholarship, or he's taking some baseball money. None of that. He's just getting on the team. And so it is a commitment. He is rated the 3rd best punter in the country. I can't imagine doing anything harder than trying to rank all the punters in the country, but he's rated the 3rd best one. He goes to some, Jimmy, I think you brought this up. He goes to some camp or some teacher or some instructor that said, this guy's awesome. So, hey, you need for all the people saying, I can't believe we give a scholarship to a punter. You ever tried playing without a punter? Alabama has. It doesn't work out too well.
Yeah. Andrew Bone reported this is a scholarship player, and Andrew further reported on BOL that this is, probably the only specialist, the only specialist Alabama's taken in the cycle, even though you lose the kicker in Graham Nicholson and the snapper in Neeland Hibbett. He's out too, but they're taking this punter. He'll replace. The plan is this is James Burnup's replacement in 2025. Don't know how to say the last name yet. He's Alex from Fresno, as far as I'm concerned. But what Luke was saying about Cole's kicking, that's true. The way kicking works largely is, and this is generality, but this is generally how it works at a place like Alabama, which is very big and powerful. You call the 2 punting, kicking gurus in the country. That's Saylor and Cole. They run the 2 biggest punting, kicking camp. I mean, every kid in the country that wants to be a big time punter.
How do they not have shouldn't Saylor and Cole, Saylor and Cole sound like 2 dudes that run a punting camp and also sell collared polos or something, like, boy, I got that new Saylor and Cole polo. Have you tried that on? It's buttery small.
That's what maybe that's the next.
And by the way, have our positional guys ever sounded more like positional guys? Alex Asperoff is your punter. I was like, yeah, if you ask me what does Alex Asperoff pay, I'd say punter. If you ask me what who's our new kicker, Graham
Nicholson.
Graham Nicholson. That is a kicker's name if there's ever been a kicker. And then Neeland Hibbett. He not only is our snapper, he doesn't wear an Under Armour shirt. He wears a Cole and what's the other guy's Saylor and Cole polo underneath his jersey.
I think you nailed it. But anyway, so what happens is Alabama calls Saylor and Cole, and they're like, okay, we want a punter. We want a punter this cycle. Who can you recommend and who do you send? And they send you a list of like, Alabama. Okay, well, my best 5 or 6 guys is the only ones you should consider because you're Alabama. So they send the names, and then Alabama starts recruiting those guys, right? But then what Alabama wants to do is we got special teams guy, Jay Nunez. He's a special teams coordinator. And Nunez, what he does is he invites the best of those best guys and anyone else that Alabama has found on their own. And they come to a camp and they basically have a competition where, okay, we hear you guys are the best. And this is how we're going to do this competition. And you guys are competing. And whoever wins this competition wins a scholarship offer to Alabama. And that's what happened. And this is the kid that won it. This is the kid who actually, the number 2 punter was there too. From what I heard, the number 2 ranked punter was there. But in our estimation, the number 3 guy was actually the better player. That he was the one that impressed us the most. And that's Alex from Fresno. So he won the punting scholarship offer and quickly committed. He couldn't wait to commit. Committed actually on Saturday mid-visit. That doesn't happen too often, only when the kids are like so fired up and so excited. So it's cool he wants to be here, and he will be the odds-on favorite to replace James Burnip as Alabama's starting punter in 2025, when Burnip, apparently, it will be off to the NFL because Burnip is literally that good.
Burnip is that good, and that's good that he's that good. So I think it's wonderful. And I'm glad that we've got a guy coming in that's a scholar. Look, if you're a scholarship punter, you need to come in and win the job if the incumbent is leaving. So
there's even some pressure. I mean, you got to win the job. Yeah. You got to win. And Talty, we talked about it, the kicker this spring. I mean, that was the pressure on him. He needed to win the job, and he didn't. Yep. So Alabama had to go to the portal. Now, they're not giving up on Talty. He's still on the team, and still maybe as we speak, the odds-on favorite to be the kicker next year as he gets a year better. But like Luke was just saying, I mean, there is some pressure there when you're the only scholarship guy. It's like, hey, we got some other walk-ons, but you got to clearly beat them out. And that will be the expectation for Alex next spring, and we'll see if that happens.
All right, Jimmy, I'm going to tell everybody about FanDuel, and then we're going to get into some other guys that are on commitment watch at the very least. But of course, I'm going to tell you about FanDuel. We all love FanDuel. It's awesome. Summertime means baseball. It means the NBA Finals, and it means much more than that. And you can bet on all of it at FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200. That's $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. $200. You can use that to bet on anything from the Finals MVP to who's going to hit one out of the park on that particular day. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon, and all you got to do is do that, and then you can add a big win to your summer bucket list. You know what I mean? You need the extra money. I know you do. I know you. Don't try and fool me. Go visit FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Okay, so Alabama's been on a bit of a heater when it comes to recruiting, and it sounds like Alabama's got to get another big one out of California. All the recruiting prediction machines are rolling in, Jimmy, and so tell us who our next commitment could be and should be.
Yeah, Tim Watts, boss at BOL, who's got an excellent batting average when it comes to this. As people that read his work know, you can bet on his bets. Tim Watts has predicted Jackson Lloyd, quickly followed by Andrew Bone and Joseph Hastings submitting RPMs. So every reason to be optimistic. Doesn't mean anything's done. It just means, hey, it's time to get optimistic that Jackson Lloyd is going to pick Alabama. And boy, this is a home run for the star watchers, the rankings watchers, the people obsessed with the stars. This is your guy. He is not currently a 5-star, but that is at On3. But that is simply because On3 is not done giving out 5 stars. He is ranked by On3 in 5-star territory. So this is a kid that has an excellent chance of being a 5-star, great athlete. One thing that's kind of interesting about him, when you look at him, a lot of people go, he's sort of tall and lanky, like Luke. He's built like Luke. This isn't an offensive tackle. He's a tall and lanky Luke basketball player.
Damn, he's that pretty?
At least from California.
Yeah.
Of course. So why is he ranked so high? Well, Jackson Lloyd doesn't weigh a ton yet because he is a 3-sport player. He plays baseball and basketball. How many offensive tackles are 3-sport guys? That's how athletic he is. So he's playing sports year-round. As you know, anybody that plays basketball. Basketball is just not the sport. to add a bunch of strength and muscle mass. I mean, so he has never focused on getting big, but he will, because once he gets to Alabama, it's just a one sport thing for him now. Now he can work year round on his body instead of playing baseball and basketball. This is just an outstanding athlete. He probably weighs in the 280 range right now, but this is a kid that's probably easily going to weigh 310, 320. My comp for him, it's not perfect, but it's close. My comp for him is Jonah Williams, who was a 5-star tackle from California. Who, by the way, also had Jonah Williams, when he was in the 10th grade, weighed 240 pounds. 240 in the 10th grade, then became a 300-pound, 5-star type player coming out of high school. I think Jackson Lloyd, because he's a kind of a lanky athlete like Jonah at the same stage and needs to add that good weight like Jonah did late in his high school career, like Jonah did at Alabama. And then we saw Jonah Williams be a first-round pick, was a fantastic, great player at Alabama. I think Jackson Lloyd is going to kind of track what Jonah Williams did in college at Alabama, also from California. Jackson's from Carmel, which is a cool spot. You don't imagine a lot of big-time SEC players from there, but Brock Bowers from Napa Valley, and now we got Jackson Lloyd from Carmel.
Yeah, and there's a great video of him out there that he put on Twitter with a nice breakout dunk on a basketball game. So, I mean, that's the kind of dude you're dealing with. And, like, it's one thing if it's an offensive lineman and they sort of jump two-footed, from the block and, like, they get just an opening in the lane or whatever. But this was on a run out. And, he seems very, very athletic. And I think he's going to end up being rated a 5-star or at the very least a high 4-star across the board. So, if you're into stars, this is the one for you.
I like doing Bama comps, Luke, and boy, your son's going to like this one. I like doing Bama comps because everybody listening to the show is an Alabama fan, and y'all know the Alabama players. So I'm always looking for, okay, who in recent Alabama history is like this guy. I'll tell you a really good comp for him that's not from Alabama, but from Oklahoma and then the Philadelphia Eagles. There's a lot of Lane Johnson in this guy. And Lane Johnson was a high school tight end until he gained all that weight at Oklahoma and then became what he became. I'm telling you, Jackson Lloyd's a lot like that. And Lane Johnson is a perennial Pro Bowl tackle for the Eagles over the years.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Then there were some other guys that were there this weekend. It was a big weekend for Alabama. A.K. Deere probably – was he the highest rated guy on campus this weekend? I think he was.
Jackson Lloyd and then A.K. Deere.
Yeah, Jackson. Okay, Lloyd. So, I mean, they're neck and neck. So
Ryan was recruiting A.K. Deere. There's pictures on Twitter of Ryan Williams with A.K. Deere, and as we know, Ryan Williams is the best recruiter this side of Courtney Morgan.
And he's also there's a Ryan Williams podcast, so we know about that.
Well, we had to throw in the Ryan Williams mention. That's what we're down to by law.
But A.K. Deere, Daniel Hill was also committed, recruiting him very heavily.
I think we haven't reported that. I'm not sure this is true enough to report, but I'm pretty sure A.K. Deere and Daniel Hill have the same trainer.
Interesting. Okay. And then, so who else, Jimmy, was on campus? Or is there anybody that committed somewhere else? Or I know Alabama had a couple of guys. Luke Metz was at Georgia. He reaffirmed his very strong commitment to Alabama. Georgia gave it a good whirl, but Luke Metz is going to stick with the Tide. And then Duke Johnson was at Auburn. And I wasn't nervous about it, but you just never know. And so I read the initial exit interviews from some of the Auburn beat writers, and they weren't like that. They were saying, hey, yeah, Auburn's got a chance with this one. It's going to be a tough pull, yada, yada. But apparently Joseph Hastings and the like also communicate with Duke Johnson. He was like, roll Tide for life. So, I mean, they feel a lot better about him sticking with the Tide.
Yeah, really. A lot of great stuff in the BOL Nuggets late this afternoon on those guys that went on other visits. One in the I wasn't counting on this guy, but Jamarian Morrow, the running back from Tennessee, committed to Missouri. I'm a fan. I really am. But I would have been a fan of Morrow choosing Alabama or ending up at Alabama. But honestly, him and Turbo are kind of like the same guy. I mean, they're really similar. And in terms of who's going to be the better player, almost anyone's guess. But Turbo's got a better offer list, frankly. but Turbo and Marrow are real similar. As long as you hold on to Turbo, that's not a loss. But I did like Marrow, so I wanted to throw that in. He's choosing Missouri.
I did want to bring up Justin Hill. I meant to bring him up.
Ooh, man, is he a player? I mean, Justin Hill's so good. It's going to be Alabama or Ohio State. BOL, we're not making a prediction there yet. This is heated. This is one of those. What do they say on election night? This one's too close to call.
Yeah,
that's what's going on with him. Home state, Ohio State. Mom loves Alabama. Luke and Jimmy love Justin Hill.
We're doing all we can, folks.
he really is a special talent. But he's a Wolf, plays the Wolf spot. And we're still waiting to hear. I'll tell you, I think he's struggling with it. I mean, just my personal guess as to what's going on. I think Dawson Merritt, who's the other Wolf that Alabama values highly, who's a national top 100 player, deciding between Alabama and Nebraska. I think he's really struggling with it. My guess, and again, I wouldn't know, but my guess based on my experience is he's probably deciding, do I want to go to Alabama where I know I'll be developed well, where I know they can get the best out of me, but I might have to wait to play. At Nebraska, I might be the guy, when I walk in the door. So it could be something like that. But it seems to me that Dawson Merritt struggling with the decision. My guess, Jimmy's guess, is Alabama there. I think we're still pretty optimistic of BOL.
And so Justin Hill, again, like you said, too close to call. But if you had to make a call, what would you say?
I'm going to say Alabama because I know Mom loves Alabama, and I know it's Father's Day and not Mother's Day, but I'll say Alabama. But I'm glad I don't have to bet on that.
If you did have to bet on it, you go to FanDuel.
Of course, I don't know what FanDuel has this on the board just yet, but probably too close to call.
Yeah, it's pick'em. It's a pick'em. You just got to lay the juice. But all right, that's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then. Roll Tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.